Previously on the Grassroots Podcast.
Alrighty, my name is John, aka JFK.
And I'm Quincy, aka Young Quincy Q. No, I'm just playing.
Is that the intro?
That's not the intro. Let's start that again.
Now listen to the Grassroots Podcast?
Absolutely. How much subscribed?
So we are NSA, and this is Grassroots Podcast.
Dave, did you get through that without saying that?
Yeah. Well, I was waiting for someone to throw to me about how NSA started.
Yeah, Quincy just went straight away from you.
No, I looked.
Okay, I was waiting.
You can also subscribe to directly. Directly. Hey Q, do you know you can now listen to the... come on.
Hi, I'm John, or you can call me JFK.
I'm Quincy K. We were going to do the whole K thing, were we?
Sorry. Commit to something. Just commit.
I'm motivated right now.
I'm motivated.
Here's a brief preview. Overview, damn it.
Experience. Or head over to iTunes and subscribe to the... I say iTunes. Hey Q.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
It's hard. I gotta act like I'm Denzel at this point. Denzel, baby.
Quincy, you're not Denzel. I don't know what people tell you.
Denzel, cuz.
Okay. Of what the Grassroots Podcast is, don't go too fast. Just read it.
Can I say 2 or is it 4? Do I have to say 4?
Hit the subscribe button on the YouTube. On the YouTube. Come on.
You can go to the YouTube. The YouTube.
I've never heard of it. I never heard. What's the YouTube? Is it like the Facebook? Yep, my knuckles are now done.
Not so well. I feel like I'm saying grassroots a lot.
Michael's gonna be so happy when he gets with professionals. When he has actually actors.
Awesome. My name is Quincy Kennedy, and you guys are hanging out with us live at the Premier Hotel for the Grassroots Podcast. And do we have a phenomenal show for you guys tonight? I'm here with my great friends. First off, Jase from Live Nutrition. How we doing, bud?
Fantastic, man.
Awesome. We got my partner in crime, JFK here.
How's it going, guys?
Yes, and the legend of the hour, Gridiron sensation, Tilly Quist. Tilly, how we doing?
Good, thank you.
We're so pumped to have you on board with us. It's going to be a good show, huh?
Thanks, yeah, me too.
Alrighty, yeah.
Listen to that live crowd.
Look at that live crowd, I know.
I think we need this every set.
We need it, right? The brand is strong. Very strong.
Just film the claps.
Yeah.
And then replaying it.
So, for those who don't know what Grassroots Sports is, Grassroots Sports is our whole main objective here is to pretty much highlight emerging sports at the ground level in Australia. On top of that, we really want to focus in on the athletes. We want to help them out from tryouts all the way through when they're hanging up the boots. We want to help them through that turbulent journey that it is to be an athlete, from dealing with coaches, dealing with parents, dealing with the ups and downs of sports.
Yeah.
So we want to get on the ground level. We want to help those players out, but we also want to do this while promoting emerging sports in Australia.
Absolutely. So talking about emerging sports in Australia, as we know, the Olympics have started.
The Olympics have started.
Over the rugby sevens.
Yes, good job.
See, look, have you seen the guys like running backs that just like take it wide and just like burn?
Burn.
Okay. But I woke up this morning.
Yes. What happened this morning, bro?
I went to Google.
Our good friend Google.
Our good friend Google, and I was looking at the medal count because that's what everyone cares about. And guess who was on top? None other than Australia. Let's put our hands together.
But unfortunately,
I had to refresh later on today.
refresh the browser.
And what happened was, who was on top?
U.S. of A? Oh. Doesn't there go something like, oh, say, can you see?
No, sorry guys, no.
Oh, sorry.
Australia came off the starting block very quick, very fast. I think they're gonna have a great year of Olympics, and I'm really excited. Hopefully, everything in Rio seems a little bit controversial. It's a little problematic at the moment, but we'll see what happens. But it should be a really good game.
Should be good. more importantly, what all you guys are here for and what we're here for is to chat with our friend Tilly Quist. So we're going to get right down into the nitty gritty. Tilly, for those who don't know you, give us a little background of where you come from.
So, my name's Matilda Quist. Everyone calls me Tilly. And I'm the captain of the Newcastle Gridiron women's team here. So we've now had Gridiron in New South Wales, in Australia for 4 years now. So I'm the longest standing member, I guess, of the women's team in Newcastle.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm actually being selected for a national tryout camp to play, hopefully for Australia next year for the World Cup.
Awesome. Wow. Rocking it out. Jeez. Ugh. Man, I don't know. Kind of get nervous now. This is your show. So, I guess talk to us about what it was like growing up as young Tilly. I'm sure you weren't playing with the Barbie dolls, maybe the Tonka trucks and the Hot Wheels, or what was it growing up?
I had marbles and army men.
Yeah, that's right.
So growing up with two brothers, one older and one younger, I did a lot of sport with my mum, did a lot of equestrian, so I have a horse riding background, show jumping, dressage, all that sort of stuff. Cool. I also used to go to my little brother's football training sessions, so they both played rugby league for West Wales and Magpies, and my dad was the coach 1 or 2 of the years, I can't remember, but I used to tag along and actually train with them, and I used to love it, but there was no opportunity for me to play because I was over the age limit to play as a woman, so there was no team. Yeah.
So this is something that you've always wanted to do?
Yeah, definitely.
Football.
Yeah. So when I turned 18, I joined Lake Macquarie Rugby Club. So my dad actually used to play there when he was a boy, I guess. So he calls me a chip off the old block. So I followed in his footsteps a little bit. I've played that for about 8 years, and then I got into Gridiron and started taking my sport a lot more seriously. And it's really, it's given me a lot more focus and determination into where I actually want to go. And knowing that I can actually go to the World Cup is, it's a good feeling.
So what sparked the interest for Gridiron per se? Because obviously it's not a popular sport here.
Yeah, I found out that one of my best friends, Justine Peel, she was actually selected to play for the LFL when they had a New South Wales team.
Okay.
And this was very early days, and I was just so proud of her. I couldn't believe that we actually had that here in Australia. Mm-hmm. And I found out that there was a similar league called the Ladies Gridiron League, and they were going to be having a team in Newcastle. And funny story, I actually ended up turning up to the first ever tryout session with a broken leg. I had 3 broken bones.
Dedicated.
And I turned up on crutches, and they all sort of looked at me and thought, who's this mad woman? And I said, I want to play. It doesn't matter, my leg will heal. It's all good. So that's sort of what started it, and it grew from there.
How long ago was that?
About 4 years ago now, probably even a little bit longer, because we spent about a year actually training, and then that league folded. So so grateful that the Newcastle Cobras men's team and the club took us on as a women's team from their club. So.
Absolutely. So for those who don't know, can you dive in a little deeper and what does the gridiron scene actually look like here? How long has it been established, and I guess what does it look like going forward? Is it an optimistic sport? Are we seeing growth, or what's going on?
There definitely is steady growth at the moment. So I didn't really know this until I started, but Gridiron in Australia has actually been going on for 30 years.
Oh, wow.
So
Wow.
Yeah.
it has been out there for quite some time now. Women have only been introduced into it in the last 4 years. So we've seen some growth, and this year especially we've got a lot of new rookies and a lot of people coming over from winter sports, so people coming over from AFL and rugby that are keen to try something new. So yeah, it is growing. It's slow.
Now, how's the transition from, say, rugby league, rugby union to Gridiron?
There's a lot less running.
Continual
Which
running.
is awesome. So yeah, I find, especially playing rugby this year, that it's a very aerobic sport and there is a lot of running in the game, whereas Gridiron is stop and start, so you really need to focus on that anaerobic energy system. So we've got a strength and conditioning coach, John Stewart, so he's from Metamorphosis.
Shout out to John.
Yeah, shout out to John. Metamorphosis, speed and strength in Sydney there. Okay. And his training is amazing. Like, he's been working with our team and we've been getting some really fantastic results.
So if you had to choose the constant contact of rugby compared to the hard smash and hits of Gridiron, which one would you choose?
Gridiron.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Definitely Gridiron.
I guess that debate's over.
Yep.
Oh, you Absolutely. So you were talking a bit about the training. So tell us, I guess, what does a week look like? I remember when I was playing Gridiron, or as I would call it in States football, I remember two-a-days going into preseason. And even after two-a-days were done, still we were in the weight room in the morning. Then we have an actual practice. Then we'll do conditioning, and then we're back in the weight room at night. It was a brutal schedule. What is it like for you out here? What is the schedule like in regards to training? And
Yeah, it is very busy. In Australia, obviously, at the moment, we aren't paid athletes, so I am working 2 jobs and juggling my training. So basically, I'm on call as a firefighter, and I'm also driving dump trucks in the mines. And then Monday nights is gridiron training for 2 hours. Tuesday nights is usually fire training. Wednesday nights is gridiron training. Thursday nights is rugby training. I usually get Friday and Saturday off. And then that's not to mention the 4 or 5 hours a week that I actually spend in the gym. So I think I tallied up last week that it's about 6 hours in my boots, in my actual football boots outside, and 5 hours in the gym every week, minimum.
So is this too personal to ask you if you have a partner?
Yes, I do have a partner. I am taken.
Sorry, guys. We tried to.
we tried to
not a lot. Yeah,
we tried to, but
Very happily taken.
holy cow, that is a heavy schedule.
Yeah,
It is.
So it is busy, and I am very grateful that my partner is supportive in that. And you know, I don't have that much of a social life.
Yeah, right.
I kind of found it hard to actually find something to wear tonight because I just wanted to wear my gym tights.
There's so much I want to pull from that. I'm glad you went down that trail. First off, I think for everyone here listening and those who will be listening to the podcast later, you have no excuses. If you guys want to play a sport, you guys want to do something in life, go for it. There's no excuses in time. There's no excuses in regards to the conditioning, the strengthening you have to do, or the work ethic you got to put in. If you want something bad enough, go out there and get it. And I think Tilly is a great example of that. So thank you for being an example to everyone listening.
It's
and
called
watching.
priorities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as no time. It's just what you prioritize. So people need to obviously prioritize their family and their health first, and then their work. Obviously, if I don't have work, then I can't play sport, and then sport. So, you know, for me, that's a priority. I don't sit at home and watch TV for hours or anything like that. You know, my priority is to train and be the best athlete that I can be for the World Cup.
Absolutely.
So she's missing out on The Bachelor. She's missing out on The Bachelorette.
Wait, do you have a Netflix subscription?
My partner just recently bought a TV for our house.
Okay,
so
we can cut that out, Michael.
Leave that out.
No, but I mean, like a lot of the athletes that we deal with, that's a key thing. But I think a lot of them are hungry for what do I do? A lot of the times they're wondering what should they do. So I guess you've mentioned prioritizing, which is key. So they've made that priority to focus on sports. So what's the next step? I prioritize it. Now, how do I get better? What was the big thing that you did in order to get better?
I think making a plan, but basically understanding what is going to make you better, and that's going back to shout outs to John, actually training for something properly. So there's a lot of people that say, oh, you know, I want to get fit, I'm going to go, bike riding or whatever. And I'm like, that's not going to help you playing gridiron. Like, you need to focus on what's going to be good for your sport. So whatever sport you're going for, just make sure that you actually have a proper plan in place that's actually going to get those goals for that particular sport.
Absolutely. I do want to take backtrack real quick. I don't mean to go too far back, but you mentioned your partner, and a lot of people here is in a similar situation where they are working a couple of jobs, they are playing sports, and they do have a partner. Can you just elaborate on that, on what kind of support a partner needs to give to their partner if they're pursuing something like that and time is limited? I guess, how do you guys work together as a couple from that?
I guess being understanding of each other's goals. So he's very work focused, which is good, and I'm supportive of that. And he's very supportive with my goals. So we try and catch up basically when I'm not at training or when I'm not doing anything else. And being on call as a firefighter as well, I have to stay local to where I live. So we do get to spend a fair bit of time at home. And, you know, I do miss out on sometimes those occasions where friends invite me out for dinner and things like that because, you know, my priorities are different and I want to spend that time with my partner because I'm not, you know, if I'm not training that night, that's the quality time that I get to spend with him.
Absolutely. You mentioned about prioritizing. So talk a little bit about, you said like you don't really go out with your friends, so you didn't really have something to wear. And so like that balance and priorities, is it just you really pursuing your dream?
Yeah, and I kind of feel a little bit selfish almost that I'm doing that, but I think my friends can vouch for me that I will definitely bend over backwards to help them out if they need to.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is me pursuing that, and I think I am the type of person that is just really determined, no matter for career or for sport.
Yeah.
If I want something, I'm going to go and do it. I'm not going to go and do a half-assed job about it.
Right.
Like, figure out what you want and go for it.
Did you have to lose some friends along the way to get to where you're going?
Definitely in my life I have, not so much on my gridiron path. I think everyone's been very accepting of that, but definitely over the years I have had to let go of people. I won't say that they were holding me down, but they're just on different wavelengths that I'm on, and unfortunately you can't spend time with people that don't understand what your goals are.
Yeah. And sometimes I think you think like, oh, I have to release my friends or I have to move away from art and things like that. Sometimes you don't even have to do anything. Just by you continually pursuing your goals and by you spending more time doing this instead of hanging out with them, it just kind of happens that way. You say grow apart. So, I mean, to all of our athletes out there, if you guys want it, chase it, go for it, because you're doing great things right now. I'm sure you wouldn't trade that experience for anything in the world.
And you meet like-minded people as well.
Exactly.
That's the thing, when you're out there, meeting people, you find people that you've got common interests with, and they're the people that are actually going to help you get to where you want to be.
Absolutely.
It's understanding that as well. I think having that upper echelon of athlete of where you're at now compared to that recreational, it does take that time, it does take that sacrifice, because otherwise if you're not putting that work in, someone else is, and you won't be at that level.
Absolutely. So Jase, outside of the actual work and discipline that you put into it, I guess what does that discipline look like in the weight room, meal planning, coming from the nutritional side of things? What does that discipline actually look like?
It's huge. You have to be that person to be so strict and diligent with that planning, knowing how much you can do in a bulk preparation, knowing your right nutrient amounts for those meals, and you don't have that time to cook every night.
I do meal prep instead of watching The Bachelor.
Okay, there you go.
There you go.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it's taking that approach. It's really looking at food as fuel. You really have to look at it that way once you get to this level.
Yeah.
And that's what it takes, and that gives you more time to actually put into that training side, whether it's on-field skills, whether you're working on that strength base in the gym as well.
Not only training, like your recovery, that's what I find.
As well.
Yeah.
I'm so hungry a day after a big leg session.
But like Jason, I mean, you've been working with us, and if anyone heard the pilot, Jason also said, your food is your fuel. And I think that's been a big thing for me. I've been listening to Jason talk for the past, month. And just within that, just hearing your food is your fuel, it switches something in my head. Because I know a lot of people, when you think of food, you think of filling a void. I'm hungry, my stomach has space, I need to fill it with something. But when, as an athlete, your body is a machine, your body is an engine. So if you're not putting the right fuel in your body, you're not going to get the performance that you want. And literally, every time I'm getting ready to go for something unhealthy, shapes. I love shapes. Let's be real. I am a shapes connoisseur. Okay. When the new barbecue shapes came out, I was all over that. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm tasting them this has more tomato and this and that, and I'm crushing boxes. But at the end of the day, it's not about that. It's about fueling your body, getting the right things into you. So then when you're in the fourth quarter, when you're in the third period and you're trying to tap into something and to get that extra one and get that extra inch, that's going to be it. And that's when your body is going to be able to sustain what it's been doing throughout the game and be able to get the performance that you want. So big stuff there.
Absolutely. One more point in regards to that. I don't think people really understand. People are like, oh, eating's a problem. I love eating. I'll eat. Why are they talking about eating? Will you break down what meals actually look like for you and the actual preparation that goes into meals?
Yeah, sure. So usually I've just started doing some preparation where I freeze a lot of my fruit and vegetables. So I've been spending about $60 to $70 trying to get mostly organic produce and cutting them up and making my own little smoothies. So not juices either, I prefer smoothies, so you're actually getting the entire fruit or vegetable. I do eat a lot of seafood, so I usually have smoked salmon almost every day. I eat a lot of eggs, so a lot of those lean proteins and the ones that have as well the healthy fats too, like a lot of omega-3s. I do eat seeds and nuts and basically anything that's meat and vegetables. So
absolutely,
I've been having a lot of slow cooked meals and anything that's meat and veg. So I make a lot of curries and a lot of stir fries and things like that. You don't have to go out and eat out, all the time. I don't understand how people, you know.
I have to save my money. Oh man.
I think if you look at food, you want to actually look at what you're about to eat and think, is this going to benefit me in some way?
Yeah.
And if it's not going to benefit you in some way, then pass on it or only have a small amount of it every so often.
Absolutely. Getting back to the gridiron things, what do you see being the biggest obstacle that gridiron is facing right now in Australia in regards to, I guess, hindering the growth or hindering the presence that it has in Australia?
Probably the funding at the moment. I don't think that we have that much funding. Also, I feel that it is quite an expensive sport to get into. So if you're a player that's, you know, wanting to come over from rugby, you've just played your rugby season, you've paid however much the rego is there, and then you're coming into this sport and it's, you know, roughly $700 outlaid to start just to buy your gear and your registration and your insurance. And, you know, once you've paid that, you've got your gear, and a lot of people don't want to buy things from overseas, so the resale's pretty good if they want to pass it on to someone else. But it is a lot of money to outlay, and I think that we do struggle there. So it would, you know, would have a lot more help, I guess, if the registration was cheaper, if our insurance was cheaper, if the gear was cheaper. You know, that's probably the biggest thing that I can see.
So now, do you guys have like a youth program per se for gridiron? Is there, if I was a 10-year-old kid that wanted to play, are there streams that they can get into the sport?
At the moment, locally I'm speaking of, I don't speak on behalf of Gridiron Australia or anything,
Okay.
But locally we don't have anything like that. I know that the men's team in the Newcastle Cobras just started a league called the Hunter Gridiron League. So they've just actually finished their season, and that was great because it got a few younger players and it got a few more rookies in that will hopefully actually play this season for the Newcastle Cobras. So that's actually given them a whole season before pre-season that they've prepared as well. So they're going to be going in this year a lot stronger. So things like that will help, and hopefully eventually in time we will have that for women as well.
Absolutely. Have you found any adversity for yourself getting into the sport?
Not particularly. Everyone's been pretty supportive of it. I mean, sometimes when you talk to people and they say, you know, do you play gridiron? And you say, yeah, and they go, oh, the lingerie one.
Yeah.
And you're sort of like, no,
Yeah, guys.
not that one. You know, we do actually have a league in Australia where we play full kit football, and it's great. Like, we've played, there's a state team last year, so every second year, you know, Queensland and New South Wales will play against each other, and, you know, it's growing, it's
Is
getting
it
bigger.
as big as State of Origin, would you say?
Unfortunately not.
Not on a grand scale, but like, is there enough bad blood, or is it more of a friendly game?
Oh no, there's bad
No,
blood.
okay, good, okay. That's all we need.
Sorry,
That's all we need
Queensland.
for a reference.
I've got a lot of girls that are going to be in the Australian training camp, so
Now,
still love you.
what teams or what nations are going to be competing in the Worlds?
Obviously America will be.
Okay.
I think Austria, I don't know if Canada has a team as well.
I would assume.
Maybe
yeah.
New Zealand. I'm not too sure. As I don't really follow other sports, and
Okay.
I've only really just had a TV recently, so I'm more of a player than a spectator.
Okay.
Do you like having the TV now that you have it?
I watched Orange is the New Black, and I thought that was pretty good. But
Yeah,
other than that, no, I barely know
Can't
how to
lie,
turn it on.
I did get captured.
I was about to say, I'm like,
I did.
shout out to my wife Mel. Like, we watched that. I love Orange is the New Black.
It's a pretty good show. Netflix. Big shout out to Netflix. That's right, Netflix. If you wanna, just saying.
Sponsor the brand.
Right now.
Yeah, right now. I guess my next question would be like, what is it for you personally being selected to be a part of the national team? And
I think for me, it would be just amazing to know that all the hard work and dedication that I've actually put into this is actually, you know, being recognised.
Yeah.
And like for me, even though we have to pay to go and play overseas, we're not paid athletes, like it's still, you know, I'm the only one that's done that for myself, you know. I've got some great sponsors as well that will help me, like Best Body Supplements and also State of Mind Equipment. So basically, you know, giving back to those guys as well, showing them that I can do what I've set out to achieve.
absolutely. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you are the captain of your team?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I guess what does that feel like, being, you know, asked to be captain of the team and take on that leadership role?
I've probably always sort of been a leader in the women's team, and I don't know, it's just natural for me, but it's good, and I love that, I can be unbiased and have that integrity that I can speak to any player of our team and they can all come to me if there's any issues and know that I'm not going to go and, talk about them behind their back or anything like that. So for me, it's just a personal, gratitude that I am captain and that I know that I'm doing the right thing for our team and not just a personal thing.
Absolutely. What I love so much about that is it shows that hard work pays off. Like you're not a leader on your team. You're not asked to be captain for no reason. You're not asked to be on the national team for no reason. It just shows that, again, like you mentioned, that discipline pays off. And when you're pursuing your dreams and your goals, if you're laser focused and you're determined to get what you accomplish what you're going to get, like it's gonna pay off, and you're gonna be rewarded for that.
Yeah. And on top of that, like we've been highlighting all the good things that have happened in your career, but I guess you wouldn't have got this far unless there was some controversy, unless there was some adversity that you had to face.
Absolutely.
Is there a moment within your career that you would like to say was one of those low moments that you had to, where you were face down in the mud, not literally, but where you're face down in the mud and you had to pick yourself back up and keep going?
Yeah, I guess I can think of a time when there was a particular person that didn't like me for whatever reason, or because I think it was because I played in a different league before. I'm not really sure. And that was quite hard on me because I'd always been a leader in the team, and to have this person sort of, I guess, not like me. And then after a few sessions, I sort of thought, well, that's not my problem, that's his problem. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, and if I get in anyone's way, then he'll let me know. And I said that to him, if I overstep the boundary, you let me know. But I'm just going to keep on doing exactly what I do. And it ended up working out really well, and I ended up being team captain again that year because I wasn't announced as team captain until like halfway through the year. But that was it was very hard for me, at the time to be told, no, you're not going to be team captain. No, we don't want you to have that leadership role when you've always sort of been there as that.
Yeah, right.
And I realised that it wasn't actually anything to do with me. It was just whatever, his personal opinion of me was at the time. So, and I just came to peace with that and let that go, and that's not my problem.
So now, talking to our athlete that's listening right now, what would be your takeaway from that situation? What's the big takeaway from that?
Don't let what other people say affect you.
Yeah.
If you know that you're doing a really good job, or you know that you've put your heart and soul into that game and that you're not getting recognition for it, why do you need somebody else's recognition? Like, if you know that you've given your absolute best, you don't need someone to tell you that. You know that yourself. Like, it doesn't matter if someone else tells you that. You know it.
And I'm not going to deflect this, whether that's a parent, whether that's a coach, whether that's a teammate, that's always true. Because sometimes coaches aren't going to notice everything that you do well. Yeah. Sometimes you can feel like you played the greatest game of your life, and like the coach only saw the bad things that you did. And playing in any sport, gridiron, hockey, lacrosse, anything, it's a fast game. You are going to make mistakes. That's what the game's about. But minimizing that. So if you, like you said, deep down inside, you know you did well, you played hard, then you should like live off that and not off what else someone else says. But it's also good to have someone that you can talk to, that you can trust. So if you talk to your parents, because I know my parents, they love me, and they pump my tires way too much. So
yeah, they do.
Get out of here, Q. So I mean, it's good to be able, whether it's a teammate or whether it's like an assistant coach or whether you're that close to your coach that you can have that real conversation, where it's like, hey, did I reach that expectation that you guys know that I can reach, or was I above the bar or below the bar? And
it's
just
it's
be
important
real.
to get that feedback.
Yeah.
I know my dad's probably the biggest critic ever, but I love his feedback because he's honest about it.
Yeah.
You don't want anyone to blow wind up your sails. Like, you want to hear how you actually went, but in a constructive criticism way. It's always positive. Feedback, positive or negative, is always a blessing.
Absolutely.
Compliment sandwich. You really did this well, but you could have done this better. But I really liked how
That's
you did
perfect.
that.
That's exactly
It's how
it.
you wrap it.
Yeah.
It is really how you wrap it.
With like a whole wheat wrap, maybe?
Oh, wait.
Whole wheat?
If you love your white bread, mate, then it's got to be white bread, and so be it.
Really? Is that true? I mean, it's a great transition.
Right.
My
Here we
favorite
go.
The
segment.
gluten debate.
My favorite segment, Better Than Yesterday. That's why we have Jase here. He is our nutrition specialist. Let's talk about what it looks like for a gridiron player and their diet, what that looks like off season and during season. So I guess to make it practical, Tilly, what does your off season meal look like?
I'm pretty much on season the entire time because I'm training so much at the moment.
Very true.
I did go to Europe for 3 weeks with my mum, so I had a bit of leniency there, but certainly, definitely great to get back into nutrition. You just feel better when you're eating the right foods.
Absolutely.
If I eat bad food, I get a food hangover.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
I was just saying before to Jase that if I have a glass of wine, I don't sleep well that night. So it's just not worth it for me to have an off season with nutrition. There's no such thing.
Yeah, right.
Wow, man,
That's gold.
That's elite. What she said there was elite. Like, we love our recreational players. We need them all. But that was an elite statement.
Yeah,
and I love that. It's like
that's like an Instagram quote, you know, with your
wait,
picture next to it.
There is no off-season.
Michael on Beth. There is no
What do you mean by off season?
Well, I mean, we can still pull from that. So,
Yeah.
what does a holiday meal plan look like?
Well, there's less activity, so you need to look at the types of petrol you're putting in. So you're going to need less of that rapid burning carbohydrate. You're not going to be doing things that are going to be pushing above 70% of your max. So, that deck chair really ain't going to be taxing you too much.
Have you seen what they have for breakfast in Italy?
Oh, yeah.
It's like chocolate croissants. I went down and they're like, oh, pick anything you want. I just looked at it going, protein shake and a coffee.
It's that paradox as well. I mean, even anything European, look at the French as well.
Mm-hmm.
They have something that is so rich, yet it's such a small serving size. So you're not going to see a lot of people that are vastly overweight there. But, hate to contrast it, but if you went to the United States in some areas as well, you would have that, but not with the small portion sizes.
Huge.
It's huge.
We do it big. Real big.
So, I mean, you don't have that second fuel tank.
Yeah.
The extra fuel tanks you're going to have, there's excess body weight. That's going to slow you down. So it's knowing your nutrients, how they burn within your system, making sure you're not putting diesel in your system when you really need to move. You want to put the 98 octane in there as well. But coming back to quantity as well, don't fill up your fuel tank massively if you're not going to use it. It's that food as fuel approach, really. And depending on what training you're doing, hard and fast training, strength training, short intermittent bursts is never going to burn as much petrol as something that's a longer and steadier stay. So very, very different requirements, very, very different nutrient composition of your diet that you can take advantage of. And you throw things like body composition on top of that. If you need to change that body composition, it gets really complicated really, really quickly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Till, you had a question, I think it was on social media, in regards to swelling. Wasn't that for Jason? In regards to what foods you should have to reduce swelling.
About anti-inflammatory?
Yes.
Yeah, so I was just interested, I guess, in a couple of good anti-inflammatory foods that you would recommend to athletes.
Absolutely. Anything with your A, C, and E vitamins in there as well. You can't go past whole foods. Fruit and vegetables are loaded with those things. But you've touched on omega-3. There are some fantastic benefits of omega-3, providing you don't have haemophilia within your family, because it's something that will thin your blood. So obviously if you've got a blood clotting disorder, you really don't want to exacerbate that anymore. But thinning your blood will decrease that inflammatory state as well. Dosing is something that people struggle with, and the back of the label doesn't necessarily give you the doses. So in terms of upper limits, there's nothing really defined to say that you're going to get anything more than a gastrointestinal problem from having too much. I've seen NRL players walking around and popping them like candy. Again, the heavy strength training, the heavy contact as well, that recovery aspect, they take advantage of it. I think they may take it a little bit too far from that, but I'd max out on what the packet dosing is, which if you had, say, 1,000 milligram capsules, which are the smaller ones, you're looking at 3 of those at every main meal. And you know what, you could even extend that if you've got something in a very heavy recovery or a session, you need the recovery straight away, something directly after.
And you're not meant to continually take those, are you? It's only for a certain amount of
No,
days,
you
like
can.
Anti-inflammatories.
Yeah, no, you can. It will give you that natural boost. The alternative is having salmon, but for your requirements to get that omega-3, 3 and 4 times a week is probably not
Chia seeds and things like that.
reasonable. Yeah, they've got a good omega-3 content in there as well. So it's definitely something to take advantage of. It's becoming the silver bullet in terms of health as well.
Okay.
Decreasing blood pressure, cardiovascular, brain health, all of those great things. But
Superfood.
absolutely, the poor old fish.
Well, I want to just throw so back home, I know during the off season or going into training camp, ice baths are huge when it comes
just
to.
gonna ask that question.
Because, bro,
Great minds think alike, bro.
they do.
Yeah.
So ice baths, are they as big here as they would be, I guess you say, overseas?
It depends who you're talking to. Yeah, I had an ice bath. It would have been a couple of months ago now, and my partner didn't think that I was going to do it.
Oh, man.
I went and bought the ice and put it in the bath, and he just couldn't believe. And I had a hot shower, and then I got out and jumped into that cold water, set the timer.
How long did you go for?
5 minutes.
Really?
And then I got back in and did another 3 minutes. And honestly, it did help with recovery.
Yeah, and for people who don't know what, like, the feeling of an ice bath, just think of the most, like, excruciating pain for
Childbirth?
3...
Yeah, exactly.
But for 3 minutes, it's unbearable. Like, I remember I would have to, like, sing through it. I would have to, like, talk to people.
Yeah, I just tuned out.
Yeah, but, like, for the first 3 minutes, and then after that, like, that's the calm after the storm, then you're good to go.
Absolutely.
But, Jason, can you explain the science of an ice bath to us?
So good.
Oh, it's that inflammatory. So it's the whole idea of the rice analogy, rest, ice, compression, elevation.
Yeah.
You're really just getting the icing part of that as well.
Yeah.
So you're decreasing that rapid amount of blood flow to all that inflamed tissue, and that will start that recovery process. Inflammation happens regardless of what we do. So your training is inflammation in a good way. You want to take advantage of that to get that stimulus, to get that rebuilding recovery process from that, get that adaptation. So you want the inflammation. You don't want too much.
Yeah.
It's the same thing when you've got back-to-back competitions and you've still got that heavy training load, which you'd have to maintain, not to slip in your performance. Ideas like that to stop that inflammation, you hit it on the head, it's very much sitting where the omega-3 would sit as well.
Straight to like being in the bath, like obviously you're lying down too, so you're getting that elevation, I guess, a bit, because you're laying down, and the water being around every part of your body, whereas if you just had a bit of ice sitting on one spot, you're obviously like getting so much more of the area of your skin to cover.
Absolutely. Whew. So many good nuggets.
Yeah.
So many good nuggets.
Replay that.
You gotta replay that podcast and listen to it over and over again. Before we close the show, we do want to acknowledge that you do have a GoFundMe right now.
Yeah.
So will you just explain to everyone listening what that's about and how they can support?
Yep. So I have a GoFundMe account at the moment. So it's just GoFundMe.com/Matilda Quist. So that basically is to help me travel to the World Cup in 2017. So at the moment, it's just been released that our camp in February that we're going to, which is the selection camp, is costing, I think it's about $1,100. So things like that, everything goes a long way, whether it's the price of a coffee or a schooner or more, like it doesn't matter, it's whatever you can afford. It really will help me go overseas, and I am working hard for it. It's not like I'm just sitting around doing nothing. I am working hard, so anything would be greatly appreciated.
Awesome. Well, all you guys can join in with us and help support. For every Grassroots mug we sell, we are donating back to her GoFundMe account so we can help her reach her goals and her dreams. So definitely want to make sure that you guys support and help us along with that so we can give back to Tilly for being on our great show.
Thank you.
And we just appreciate it so much. Also, there's a few other ways you guys can support by taking a shot and putting in a grass clipping, and we'll draw from that as well. Actually, should we do that now?
A grass juice shot?
A grass juice shot?
Can we get some grass juice?
Can we get some grass juice?
Alrighty then, we're on it right now. And like honestly, we don't ask much from our audience. We don't even have a name for like Grassroots Nation. Grassroots Nation.
Grassroots Nation.
But I know there's someone listening right now that could help out. And guys, every little bit helps, and we want to help Matilda or Tilly to get there, and we want to support her as much as we can. So supporting emerging sports and supporting Matilda and Gridiron. Here we go.
Here we go, guys.
Oh gosh. You still have some left. Come on, finish up.
It's sediment.
It's the
It's like
the gritty
tasty.
bit.
And
It's like tasty, and like you have like green stuff.
I have no water left either.
It's actually premium.
Awesome.
Alrighty.
Well, that wraps up the show for tonight. Thank you all for hanging out with us tonight. Thank you, Tilly, for having us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.